Why do mother-in-laws feel it's their duty to constantly criticize their daughter-in-laws? I mean, weren't they daughter-in-laws once? My marriage would be so much better if my in-laws stopped interfering in our lives. My husband doesn't think anything's wrong. This is normal for him. What am I supposed to do?
You have these two people who are coming together when they get married and they have to adjust to each other. And then that person who's coming to the extended family not just has to adjust to the husband or the wife, but has to adjust to everybody else.
It's a common problem, and it causes a lot of ills, a lot of pains in marriage.
When you get married, you have to realize that you're getting married into a tribe, and that you're entering into tribal relationships, and hopefully not tribal war.
Keeping close ties with in-laws, or even living in an extended family, is fairly common in many cultures. While in-laws can be a great source of support, interference from in-laws can cause a variety of problems.
The interference of the in-laws on the relationship starts to take away from that sense of emotional connection and togetherness that they have, that sense of what I say, their sense of we-ness.
The wife, of course, cannot stand the mother-in-law cannot stand the wife. Is it possible to have family together? Yes, it's possible. Does it work? Most of the time, it does not work.
Part of being married and being married with in-laws, maybe perhaps even living within the same household, is gaining maturity around understanding when my in-laws can be most helpful and when it is as a couple that we need to find private moments, that we need to, take this discussion upstairs to the bedroom, to the basement apartment, or now is a good time for us to go for a walk or drive.
It's not to say that in-laws are a problem for the marriage. In fact, they can actually help a marriage do better as well, but only if they're supporting the relationship and not trying to take the side of either partner.
Once they want to interfere in decision-making, it becomes a problem.
If my wife loves me and my mom loves me, why can't they get along for my sake? They're having a tug of war, and I'm the stupid rope. I wish my wife could see how this is affecting me. What am I supposed to do?
The Quran and prophetic teachings place great emphasis on the rights of parents, but is obedience to parents unconditional? How can people strike a balance between the rights of different family members?
The key right of parents is to be good to them, to uphold good character in your dealings with them, in your words and your deeds, and in the way you respond to what they say.
The in-laws are parents, and Islam tells us to treat our in-laws like our parents. If I honor the spouse's parents, it's like honoring my own parents.
In order to maintain that beautiful balance between the rights of parents and one's own rights, the rights of one's spouse, the rights of one's children, certain demands of the parents you may not be able to fulfill, but one does so in a graceful manner. And one of the ways with respect to that is what the Prophet ﷺ said, that you can't reach everyone with your wealth. You can't reach everyone with your status, but you can reach everyone through good character.
We need to balance between these values and the reality of today, the financial burden. We can't live in a big house like we used to in the old times. The dwellings are smaller, they're more expensive.
They expect you to be over every other day. Right? That's what they say. But what they really want is they want to be loved. They want to feel cared for. They want to feel that you haven't distanced yourself from them.
Look, my mom didn't mean to offend you.
Why do you always take her side? Do you know what it's like to be constantly criticized by someone every day?
She's not always criticizing you. This is temporary, okay? Until I graduate. Besides, look at what my folks are doing to help us out.
You know that I appreciate everything they do, but why can't they appreciate me? Why can't you understand?
Often partners I found in my practice have told me that they don't really necessarily want their partner to go and fight with their parents on their behalf. They just want their partner to understand how they feel.
One of the most important parts in the early years of the marriage is establishing your own couple identity.
So they need to come together and have that awareness. And as they begin to see themselves as a unit, separate from their parents too will begin to see them as a unit.
One thing I tell couples that I work with when they're approaching their parents is to talk in terms of we. So you're no longer just their son or daughter. You're actually now a son who's a husband and part of a relationship, or you're a daughter who's part of a relationship.
So long that entity is welded and strong, and there is understanding and good communication, they can deal with issues that surround them.
The couple stays together on whatever issue. And indeed, if they need to talk about it in advance as to have a unified plan or position, they need to do that.
How is it that our in-laws affect us? What happens between us when the in-laws say something or when the in-laws are visiting? When they start to focus on that issue, what happens between them, and address that, they start to move forward.
To make it easier to establish a couple identity, experts suggest that future family members share their expectations with one another.
I think it's important in the beginning that the couples sit down with the in-laws, even before the marriage, and have discussions so that the in-laws realize that marriage is maybe something different than what they culturally perceive it to be. And so right from the beginning, have a discussion, set parameters, and so then it's more cooperation between the two sides.
A common mistake that couples make is to take their personal marital problems to their parents. If the parents aren't objective, the problems could get worse.
That's something that should be discussed from the very beginning. Are we going to talk to our family about our problems, or are we going to keep it between the two of us?
For giving all kinds of support, the parents are needed, the grandparents for the children. However, to make a judgment, to do dispute resolution between two contending parties, they cannot do it.
They're one person's parents and not the others, and so it's not easy for them to give advice and support that would be objective, and that's important to keep in mind.
Say, for example, you go to an imam or you go to a counselor, that person will give you advice in an objective way, and then you may never have to see that person again.
When we see successful couples, on the one hand, we see a couple who is beginning to define who they are and how they'd like to be, but it's often combined with a family that begins to let go and says, go ahead and establish something which is new and different than what we imagine it to be, but which is something that you would like it to be.